Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another TalMix broadcast. My name is Katie Roberts, and as you know, we bring these broadcasts to you every month like clockwork, and we discuss things that are really happening in our industry and in the changing world of work and how that affects you as a consultant or you as a prospective buyer of consulting services. So today is no different, and I'm joined by an incredible consultant who's going to be sharing some of her own insight into her journey of independent consulting, and hopefully our other panel member who is due to be with us as well will be joining us. But we are going to be discussing really things that consultants should really know about, especially when talking to clients who are embracing independent talent for the first time. We're going to be talking about things that are critical for them to know about you as a consultant in order to build relationship, build trust, and give them the confidence of using independent talent as a core strategic function within their organization. So as you know, this session is being recorded. So if you do miss part of it or want to watch it again, it will be available on our YouTube channel. So make sure you have a look at it there. And if you have any questions in between our discussions today, feel free to send them through to us on Twitter, and just make sure that you tag us so that we can pick those up. But other than that, Mima, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us nice and bright and early from where you are in the States. I wonder if you can just give us 2 minutes of your time and just explain to the viewers a little bit more about who you are, what you do, and what you specialize in, because that's also very, very interesting.
Thank you, Katie. It is a pleasure to be here and talk to you. I live in Atlanta, Georgia at the moment, but I spend a big deal of my professional educational professional development in London. I'm a medical background, but I am in management consulting in healthcare. At the moment, I'm advising pharmaceutical companies, not directly, but indirectly through mutual clients. I provide strategic intelligence and due diligence analysis. I can cover any therapeutic area, but I like biologics and I like biosimilars. Thanks to Imperial College London and their training, I actually got to understand nanotechnology applications in drug development, which is my niche specialty. And I am working on the expansion of my knowledge and expertise in applications of artificial intelligence, also in healthcare and drug development.
Fantastic. I mean, things that are so key. It doesn't take long to read, of predictions for the future and what people are talking about. I mean, you're at the heart of all of that that's going on. So awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. So as you mentioned, Mima, your specialism lies within the healthcare and more specifically the nanotech markets. So if we look at independent consulting, why do you think organizations in this super high development space are harnessing independent workers to get ahead? Why are people looking towards specialists like you to help them develop themselves for the future?
That is a good question. Reasons can vary, depends on what kind of company we speak about. For example, if we take an early stage company or even medium-sized companies, which I've been working on in the UK. Reasons are they would like to, for example, if we have a nanotechnology company, they want to understand in which industries nanotechnology product they're working on can be applied. So they would be interested to know if they can enter healthcare. So they need very good strategic market research in order to determine whether there is a significant business model for them, which would be interesting. They would like to know how they can position themselves. They would like to know how they can position their product. So as I said, strategic market research and at the same time, this need for such type of service may not lie within their capacity internally. So they need external support. At the same time, on the long run, because they're not sure if they would like to enter healthcare sector or not, they cannot afford to hire as their employees people of such profile. So they turn out to need actually our services. So we help them find answers to those questions through market research and all other kind of types of advising, but we also help them save money. Because remember, early stage companies, even medium-sized companies, have limited budgets. Then larger companies, on the other hand, they don't have budget restrictions, but they also want to keep their operating profits growing. So here we come again, we save the money. And this aspect is very important to remember when negotiating new projects, new engagements, and defining the price. So I think it's important for all the beginners, and probably experienced ones are more aware, but to understand that we do save them money. And larger companies also, as you know, their corporations spread across the globe. They need multiple insights. They need understanding of various geographic markets, of trends. So they need multidisciplinary insights from various sources, and that's why they need external support in their business decisions.
And so, you know, the evidence is really compelling when you look at why organizations are and should be embracing independent talent. I mean, it gives them immediate access to a whole new pool of talent. But so if we had to flip that around, Mima, and look at the challenges that organizations are up against, or what they are facing through their decision to use independent talent. So those who have decided, okay, we're going to use independent talent, but we've got some problems we need to sort out, or some challenges. What would you think, or perhaps in your experience, what have they been? What are organizations challenged with through their decision to use independent?
I guess they would give much better answer to this than me, but what came to my mind is, for example, when there are last-minute ad hoc projects, when deadlines are tight. So the situation is very easy to kind of present itself that initially they think they identified the right consultant, but somewhere along the line they realize, both parties actually realize, the independent consultant and the company realize that they actually need slightly different expertise in order to successfully complete the project, in order to deliver something new, because sometimes deliverables can change throughout the course of the project. So one could naturally jump to the conclusion that it's up to a consultant who is providing this service to identify those risks, which I agree completely. Consultants should do their best to try to mitigate misrepresentation in any way, but sometimes companies miss to identify what they really need themselves. So those are risks I think they're facing regularly when they're dealing with independent talent. And there are other risks too, but I would say this one is the most significant one. Identifying the right person for what you need, and sometimes actually understanding what a company needs. They need to understand it internally.
Yeah, I mean, and that places a huge amount of responsibility on the consultant's shoulders, really, in the way that they approach a project or a new client.
Exactly.
And perfect timing, as if by magic, Jim has joined us. Welcome, Jim. Thank you very much. I know that there have been a few technical hiccups, but what would live be without those? So welcome, Jim, and thank you so much for your time. I know that you're a very busy man.
No, my pleasure. Glad to be here.
So, Jim, we were just talking about some of the, specifically looking at businesses who are buying consulting services. And we know for many organizations who have never done this or have never used independent consultants, doing something new and almost foreign to them is a big deal. So perhaps in your experience, you can give us a little bit of insight into what you do as well, but perhaps in your experience, how have you helped your clients overcome this initial anxiety or apprehension, which is usually, surrounding doing something new or try, and in this case, using independent talent? How have you helped them?
Well, I think the main thing is with any engagement is really gaining credibility with the client, and sometimes that's done up front in the vetting process, but in my experience, there has always been an apprehension about sharing the secret sauce, if you will, even though nothing's really that secret out there. So the first thing that I try and do is really come and lay out, the world as I see it, normally with the information that's received up front. And what I found is that when you can resonate on key points and you can show the leadership team or your individual client the fact that you can give them a path or give them a challenge, which ultimately will help them. Credibility has always been the thing in terms of being able to relate to the situation that the person is dealing with, giving them some constructive challenge. That tends to break down the barriers pretty quickly in my experience.
And Jim, just jumping back for a second, I mean, your career has seen you certainly excel within an increasingly challenging industry. I mean, specifically within the tobacco and e-cigarette market. Why do you think organizations are now turning towards independent talent to help them cope with this massive change that they're facing?
It's really about getting the understanding of a scenario and acting quickly. The world's moving so fast. You know, time when it comes to days and certainly weeks and months, that time you cannot get back. So when I deal with clients and you're talking about a scenario, so take a situation where you're dealing with a tax change in India or in Southeast Asia. What the client may want to know is what can I expect to happen? How can I be best prepared to deal with this scenario? And what they're looking for is someone that's been there, seen it, done it, and can help them think it through, because you don't want to reinvent wheels. And when you start doing that, you spend a lot of time and energy and money. And so in many of the engagements, what really they're trying to buy is the expertise and the knowledge, especially if it's a scenario that they haven't seen before. And that's of tremendous value. And it comes with a high impact message without having to go through all of the variables. You know, the consultant can bring, you know, have you considered these 5 things, and are you prepared to deal with them? And it just saves so much time and really cuts to the core of the issue, so that the deciding party or parties can make an informed decision on a much more timely basis.
And Mima, if I come to you, so along the same lines, helping clients overcome that initial anxiety of doing something new, what are clients looking for at the moment of making that decision to invest in consulting services? What are they looking for, particularly in your industry or from your experience? And how do you help them overcome the challenges of doing something new, or embracing this change in a new way of working?
I think they look for a lot of trust. I like to kind of define it as 3 dimensions of trust. They want to be sure you will deliver. So I provide a lot of evidence that I was able to deliver in the past, and I reassure them what they can expect to get out of the prospective project we're discussing and negotiating about. They want to be sure it is all confidential and ethical. I think it is important to communicate their agreements, which are necessary to sign, but apart from signing an agreement, you want to make sure that all of the channels you use to reach out to your client are synchronized, and that there is nothing standing out in terms of your ethical behavior as a professional. And then they probably want to know if they can count on you again. They don't want to spend a lot of time wandering around and changing consultants like, a pair of socks every month, new one. They want somebody reliable out there, and they want to be sure that they can count on you again. I think apart from those 3 things about trust, which kind of emerged throughout the time, it's important to be on top of the game. So they want people who take initiative to work on improving their expertise and expanding their skills. They appreciate when they see you at conferences, when they see that you're taking various online courses, training, upgrading your certifications, and generally you're present out there at the front line of the industry, even though you're on your own.
Yeah, and Jim, if I just come to you for a second. So similarly to what Mima is talking about, that element of building trust, right at the start of it, I guess all of this boils down to building relationship with prospective clients, and understanding what their needs are, whether they're looking for specialist insight and knowledge which they may not have, or whether they're simply looking for someone to activate or implement something where they might already have the knowledge. And it's true for the procurement of any service, I suppose. So when it comes back to how confident they feel at purchase, how do you as an independent consultant how have you built relationship with prospective clients who are naturally cautious? What approach do you take?
Well, it's a great question, and each client's a little bit different, because even you could take the same engagement and put it with 3 or 4 different clients, and the approach could be different, and that really depends on the person that you're dealing with. So typically, you will have a lead contact, and what's important, at least in my experience, is to understand what the client's true needs are. So, you know, are they looking for knowledge? Are they looking for someone to help execute? Are they looking to cover their ass? I mean, I've run into those before. So, you know, and that's okay. It's just really trying to understand what are they trying to accomplish? What's the leadership style of the person? You know, some clients, they really want to tell you what they know and help you understand what they don't know, and that's fine. And you have other clients too that they really want to be challenged. And so if it's the CEO and he or she wants to push their leadership team, they want someone that's up there and saying, hey, why the heck are you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Have you thought about this? So, you know, it's understanding what the needs are of the company specifically, understanding what their objectives are, and then really trying to understand how can you best get your message across to the decision makers and help them to be effective in what they're trying to achieve. And that can be a great presentation, or that can be just going one-on-one with each of the key team members and then trying to build consensus within. So it can be, like I said, the same outward objective, but the way to get there can be quite different. So it's really getting to that second level of what the client's trying to achieve and how best to achieve it within their organization.
And so from your perspective, Jim, are there any common questions that you have found your clients ask you as an independent consultant, as opposed to perhaps when you worked as part of a team? What is the different approach that they've taken from you, and how have you handled that?
It tends to be a lot more direct because, you know, you know, as a hired gun or a hired resource, there tends, at least in my experience, to be a lot less nonsense. So, you know, it's like, how have you done it? Give us examples. As it was just mentioned, you want to be able to demonstrate your ability to succeed and how it relates directly to them. So, you know, you typically, you know, depends how you're charging out, but it could be, you know, time is of the essence, not just for getting the results, but also in terms of your cost to the client. So things tend to be a lot more direct, and I think, as was previously mentioned, you know, being well prepared and being ready to hit the ground running is just so very important. But communication and certainly in my communication, I try to be very direct because I am cognizant of the time of the client and billable hours. So I think you know, versus a typical organizational structure where you're worried about some of the politics, et cetera, when you're coming in, at least my experience as a consultant, things tend to be more direct and to the point and action oriented, which is great.
And Mima, I mean, we have many consultants, as you know, who watch these broadcasts. I mean, I see we have a great number of people watching right now, and many who have done this for years, and then there are also many who are just starting out on this journey. So in your opinion, what advice would you give to consultants who are just setting out, and perhaps have their own anxiety about this new independent working thing, but need to help their prospects who are also facing this change overcome their anxiety? It's a little bit of a difficult situation when you have to kind of overcome your own anxiety and give your prospective your customer the confidence that they need, you know, to try something new. What advice would you give on how you've dealt with things like this?
Well, I am not sure how much relevant my answer will be, because I was lucky enough to have most of my clients and projects coming through word of mouth recommendations. So I would say initially that being transparent and being flexible are key things. So it's important to communicate who you are professionally, but also who you are as a person. What are your personal circumstances? I would say before getting a new project out there, if you're not sure, if you're not getting any green light or confirmation, make sure you do small steps to try to contribute. For example, volunteer to help organize a small event within the industry where employees or potential clients will actually be there. Offer some kind of a free help. For example, help them write a white paper on a relevant certain topic in the industry at the moment. And also, finally, the key thing is not to put too much burden on yourself. So start small. Start from one niche segment and establish yourself there as a emerging expert in one business area specifically. And then later on, learn and work yourself through to diversify through other business areas and maybe even few similar industries, not just one. But it's important that you become truly recognized for one specific thing, and then there will be time when you can kind of expand and do other things as well. So yes, and also, yes, finally, one more thing very important is keep building your transferable skill set. Transferable skills are very important in this business.
So your answer is 100% relevant there, because certainly the things that I pick up there are the constant message, both through what you are telling me and what Jim is mentioning, that transparency and directness. So telling people, exactly what you are able to do and how you're going to do it. Customers can see through, the grandeur of language and things like that. So cutting to the chase and getting right direct with what the subject is at hand will save you a lot of time and get over any anxious feelings. And the second thing is what you say is, it's proof points really, and it comes from it's related to a broadcast we did a little while ago about how to market yourself as an independent consultant, and specifically how to be able to demonstrate what you've done before, which speaks for you before you've even opened your mouth. So those things to me really jump out. Jim, do you have similar kind of advice? Would you agree? Anything that you wanted to add to what Mima's just said?
Yeah, I really like what I just heard there in terms of that approach and being available, keeping yourself relevant. I think that really, I think the word honesty and that is just really important. I think that being genuine it's so important, and people, I think generally my clients, and I've worked with a lot of them around the world, they really want an honest, genuine, best efforts approach, and that's important, even if the message sometimes you're giving them is going to create them a lot of heartache. If they know it's coming from the right place, it's well received. But clients sense that immediately. They know if you're really giving them a genuine effort and your best effort, and that comes across in everything that we do.
And that leads in beautifully to my next question for you, Jim. So as we draw this broadcast to a close, there may be some consultants who have, due to a series of unfortunate events, for whatever reason, experienced a breakdown in relationship with a client or an ongoing, business relationship or what have you. Perhaps, their main contact has moved on and they need to reestablish themselves with a new contact, or perhaps a project went in a different direction than intended, all those kind of things. What's your advice to bringing a relationship back on track as an independent consultant where things have perhaps gone off the rails a little bit?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's important, number one, to set out the scope of the engagement, the first thing, so the expectations are clear, which is something I touched on earlier. And I think where I've seen scope creep, or you get players changing, or sometimes a lack of commitment from the client because you've asked them to do a lot of things and sometimes they don't deliver. It's really important to get the key decision makers back and come back to the scope of work. So in any engagement I'm involved in, I have the objectives set very clear, the timeline set very clear, and if there are any kind of adjustments, how we resolve those things. And so I think it's important, number one, don't let things get off the rails. So have weekly calls, have the meeting scheduled, and that really avoids things blowing up to begin with. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is, and scope creep tends to be the thing that I find to be most dangerous, is that, hey, we brought you in to do this, but we'd like you to do this, this, and this. By the way, we're not going to pay you anymore, and we want everything done like you've got 10 people working with you. Then that's when I bring the decision makers back, and we bring out that objectives and scope of work, and we say, well, this is what we're here to do. And this is my commitment, and this is your commitment to the project, and that tends to dissolve things, or then we redo the scope of work. So having those things agreed up front is the key, and then actively managing the project with key milestone meetings that helps diffuse it, and then always come back to that scope of work and objectives.
Beautiful. And just as we close off, so last couple of minutes, Mima, your final thoughts, especially what piece of advice would you leave people with, certainly in what buyers are looking for in independent consultants, and what independent consultants should represent in this, as they embark on a new way of working? Any final thoughts from you?
Well, I think you already said it, but just in a different way. So this is a relationships building business that is important to understand. So convincing evidence of your capabilities, competencies, and capacity is just the starting point. Exchange is very important, continuous exchange, and that exchange can be service and a fee, but also can be one of the examples of any kind of voluntary contribution, which I was talking about. And maintaining relationship and exchange continuous actually helps maintain relationship with clients from the past, helps rebuild relationship with them, and also helps you get new clients. So it's that flexible, transparent exchange, and being kind of aware of that. That would be my final input.
Awesome, thanks, Mima. And you, Jim, any final thoughts that you would like to leave our viewers with?
Yeah, I would just say that I see this this business is getting nothing but momentum. The use of independent and specialized consultants is only going to increase. You know, it's important to use the tools that are out there and all the information sources that we have. I think it was mentioned, you know, networking is critical in this business. And I don't know, for most people out there that are good and busy, you know, we have a pick of things to do. So I think it's important that we, as consultants, and certainly I target, you know, projects and things that I'm interested in, and B, I have fun with, and clients I like, because that just makes me better at what I do. But I think we also have to have the guts to turn down jobs. I've had some things come my way that could have been potentially lucrative, but I knew deep down I couldn't really help that client, or that client was beyond help in terms of what they were able to do. You know, they were trying to eat the whole elephant, and there was no way that was going to happen. And we have to have the internal discipline to turn those down, or refer it to someone else better placed to do it. So I think it's great. And it's only, the opportunities are only going to get larger and larger for people that want to do specialized consulting such as we do.
Awesome. Well, listen, great note to end on. And I see the clock has just struck 5 o'clock in the UK, very rainy, chilly UK. So I'm sure the weather's much better in the States at the moment. But I just wanted to thank you both so much for your time today and for sharing your insight on this. I see we've had a lot of great viewers on today, and certainly a lot of interest in the subject matter. So thank you both for your time. Really appreciate your thoughts. Hope you guys have a brilliant day. And then just to our viewers, thank you so much to all our viewers watching. Whether you've tuned in, whether you're ahead of time, behind time, same time as where we are here in London, thank you so much for your time as well. And make sure that you do keep an eye on your email inbox and the TalMix social media profiles, because we will be running a December broadcast, the last one of 2017. We cannot believe it, with exciting stuff coming ahead in 2018. So make sure you keep an eye on that and join us for our next one. But other than that, there's nothing more for me to say except have a wonderful afternoon, have a productive rest of the week, wherever you are, and we look forward to seeing you again soon and speak soon. Take care.